All right, guys, today I have a special guest for you. This is Adam Gilley, and Adam has had some recent success in the licensing business. He's actually fairly new to the industry. He had heard about it a while back, but then he was actually a sort of pop producer working with artists, working with vocalists, and, you know, this kind of voice in him kept on nudging him, maybe you should try licensing. And Adam actually ended up finding my videos, finding all about the sort of side of the business that I've been at least so excited about. And he's actually been seeing some really cool results and success. And we're going to talk to him about that in just a second. But before we do, I want to play just a snippet of Adam's music. He's an incredibly talented producer. He does quite a few genres, actually. And so I'm going to play a little snippet here of some of the stuff that he has on his demo that he's currently shopping out there to libraries. All right, so Adam, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming on today. How you doing?
Thanks, man. Doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad at all. I just love getting these success stories. I love hearing that you guys are actually taking this information, taking this knowledge, and actually putting it to use. Obviously, nothing I do works unless you guys put in the work. So that's really cool and encouraging to hear that at least some of you obviously are doing the work. You're putting in the work as well. So if you can, tell us a little bit about your recent success and kind of what's going on in your licensing career.
Yeah, so kind of starting out, this is something that I always wanted to get into, kind of to get away from the normal producing for artists and shopping beats and that kind of thing. So once I ran across your stuff, I just started out with your 5 videos that kind of get right to the point on how to get started in this industry. And went from there, man. Just got to work trying to build my catalog up a little bit and put some demos together to start shopping. Even used your email templates to kind of as a basis to go off of to make sure I was wording things right and that kind of thing. And basically just tried to research what seemed to fit for me and my music that I was making, and just started, reaching out to some companies, and would get a few that, hey, this is what we're looking for right now. Thanks, though. Got a few that were like, hey, submit us your 5 best tracks. That was kind of how most of them worked, one way or the other, like that. And before I know it, I ended up getting one company getting back to me and saying, hey, we like your stuff. We enjoyed your demo. This is kind of what we're looking for. Would you like to, send us some stuff? And they actually set up a phone interview. And so we got on the phone, and that's when I was like, wow, this is, this can be real. I can actually really get in touch with a company personally and kind of build that relationship. So once we did that, I got to work with the pointers and stuff that they gave me on the tracks that they wanted. And then like a week later, as I was still working on that, they emailed me and said, hey, we got this custom opportunity. Some of our veteran producers weren't even able to hit the sound that we're wanting. Would you like to give it a shot? The deadline's in like 3 days. So you'd have to get to work now. And so I stayed up all night working on this track. It was for a Christmas track. And sent it over. Or actually, I think I watched one of your videos where you were like, hey, if they're asking for something on this day, don't wait till that day to get it to them. Get it to them a day before. So I'm sitting there. I got it done. I'm like, let me send it today, which is like the next day. And they got right back to me. Hey, we love it. We love everything about it. Let's do the contract. So that's when it became real for me. And that was a pretty awesome experience. So then once I did that, they're like, hey, would you like to do another one? You still got time on the deadline. And so I stayed up that night again, a whole nother track, and got that one in there. So it kind of happened quick. It was just like, wow, what just happened? I got 2 tracks submitted and accepted, and now we're doing it. So all pretty.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool to hear. So how long was it before when you got accepted by this one particular library? What was the timeline between when you hit send on the email and when they got back to you and said, yeah, let's have a phone interview?
It was probably within the week that I sent the email that they got back and said, hey, this is kind of what we look for. You're welcome to submit, some of your full tracks through our little submission tab. And then I submitted that. And then it was probably like 2 weeks after that where they came back and said, hey, we really enjoyed your stuff. We'd like to set up an interview. And then it was like a week later we set up a scheduled time and went from there. So
overall, probably about a month before you actually were on the phone with them and kind of in their inner circle. And now I will guarantee you that now that you've delivered high quality music before the deadline and you over delivered, you're not going to be waiting at all to hear from them or to get opportunities from them, because what you've done from day one, as soon as you were in their little inner circle, is you completely overwhelmed them with value and with service is really what you did. One of the big things that I always stress to all of my subscribers, syndicate members, everybody, is we as producers in this industry must be service oriented. This is a service industry. We are not the divas. We are not the rock stars. We are not on our little mountains looking down at everybody else. We are janitors. We are craftsmen, right? We are plumbers. We need to show up, get the job done, deliver what's being asked from us, deliver on time, before schedule, and under budget. If you can do that every single time, then you're going to always be asked to come back and be rehired. So it definitely seems like you have that work ethic already built into you from your maybe previous experiences in the industry, which brings me to kind of what I want to talk about now, which is you had been previously involved with working with artists and trying to get maybe more kind of, viral videos out there, or viral tracks, or, sell your music or get out on social media. Can you talk a little bit about your experience in that industry? Maybe some of your successes you had, some of the setbacks you had, and why you decided that maybe that's not the long-term path for you, and maybe music licensing is a much more, profitable way to go.
I think even when I was kind of doing this, it was before the whole viral video thing was even happening. So even before that, I was kind of involved with like a pop electronic group. It was a group of about 4 or 5 of us that produced music, and we decided, hey, let's get together and start making music, and we did vocals and put out a couple albums, and then we'd go around and get shows that we could and perform. We ended up doing like a Disney show one time over there, so that was about like our peak to what we got to do. But then on the side of that, I would do the whole, make a bunch of beats and start shopping them to artists, and it was always a pretty dead end path. Like I would get some, hey, yeah, that's cool, I like this beat, I'd like to work with you, but there was always no budget, so you felt like in order to get in, you kind of had to give things away. And I did a lot of that too, where I just want to make some music and start getting some things out there. I worked with some pretty popular artists that I built up to, and was able to even go to their studio and kind of work with them. But then my experience with that was, I'm thinking, hey, this is good. This guy I'm working with, he gets a lot of hits on YouTube. He sells some songs. This could be some, royalties for me in the future. Well, once it was kind of all said and done, he didn't want to really give me my writer's share for the work that I did on the production. He's like, yeah, it's too small to track. And so that's when I was like, if I can't do that, getting $50 or whatever it is a beat, it just isn't going to work. So I've done a lot of things since then. I'm a DJ. Me and my wife have a few different companies, but I've always had this passion, music. It's always something I go back to create. And so I've always had this in my head. I want to get into the TV and film. I feel like I'm talented enough. I feel like my music could work in that environment, in that industry. But it was always trying to find a way in, just like everything I think in the music industry. So that kind of brings me back to where I found your stuff. And before finding that, I would run into the kind of pay to submit places. And I even did that, and you would pay them and send them a track. And then you get like the most feedback you get is, hey, sorry, that's not what we're looking for. Thanks for submitting, and you're out $20 kind of thing. So,
yeah,
that's kind of how it started for me. And I even kind of stepped away from music altogether for a couple years. Like I just didn't even want to make it. I was DJing, and I'm like, maybe it's just not for me. But again, it's something I always come back to, and I decided, let me start researching again and see what I could come up with. And that's when I ran into your stuff. So.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I can totally feel you on that. Not being paid to make music for artists and trying to get out there that way. I definitely had a similar experience, other than the fact that I was in a band and we were producing for ourselves,
Gotcha.
But making no money. We had a decent deal, and we were supposed to be like the next big thing. We were connected, very well connected, and it just didn't land into anything that was going to be something that we could obviously make our full-time income on. And so I'm very thankful that the licensing business was even made available to me at such an early point in my career. We were just talking about this before we hit record here, that the licensing industry is like one of the biggest best kept secrets about the music business. I don't. I think from what I tell, and I don't know if you've maybe talked to people who aren't in the music business or maybe are, but don't know anything about this industry. I always ask them, like, who do you think makes that music that you hear? Because if you've noticed, you turn on a TV, you don't go 30 seconds without a song. There's some music in the background, the foreground, theme song, commercial. Music is all over the place in TV. Who do you think makes that music? And a lot of people actually assume that there's either two people that make it. One is it's already artists that are on the radio. So like, well, that's, if it's a rock song, it's probably Green Day or Linkin Park. They're probably getting all those placements. And number two, if it's like orchestral, it's like Hans Zimmer. It's somebody big. It's, Danny Elfman. It's somebody who's already got the establishment and the credits. So that's who's making all that music. And they're shocked to find that just average Joes like you and me actually make that music. That it's actually just people with a regular average home studio, but with really cool plugins and great sounds and a great ability to hear and to produce and to mix and master our own tracks from our own studios. We're actually the ones providing, we're the workhorses providing a majority of the music that you're hearing on TV. And I think if more producers and artists and bands just knew that, I think it'd be more achievable or more realistic for them to see, like, this is something that can actually be within their grasp. I think right now, if they're not aware of that fact, they think that it's just like, well, we're not a major band yet, so we can't get on Fox Sports, we can't get on TV, we can't get on a commercial or something like that.
That's exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have members of the group, myself. We're nobodies. We're just guys who like to make music. All right. We have no fan bases. We have no fame. Nobody knows who we are. Our names are really never on the credits, but our music is being heard by millions of people all over the world. And so I just want to encourage you, if you are an artist or a producer or a band right now, if you're finding the same sort of like roadblocks that we found in our careers, you need to consider music licensing. If it's not going to be your full-time focus, at least, and I think you would agree, you should add it as a plan B. Like, this should be your plan B. Absolutely. You should have something other than just, I'm going to be a rock star one day, I'm going to be famous. Like, if that's your plan A, go for it. I don't want to be a dream killer and tell you don't go for what you really want out of life. That's for you to decide for your own life. Yeah. But I will highly say that this is wisdom speaking here. Somebody who's seen a lot of producers and musicians burn out, go get day jobs, and now they're not that happy with the jobs that they have. Music licensing is a great plan B to have, because for me, it's obviously been plan A for a long time. But as a plan B, at least you're still able to make a full-time living by making music, okay? It might not be the rock star lifestyle you dreamed about. You might not be, getting on the cover of Rolling Stone and all that good stuff. But if that's what you're in this for, then maybe licensing is obviously not for you. But if you just love making music and you want just to be rewarded, I mean, I'm sure you feel that way, that it feels great to finally just be rewarded fairly for doing work, for actually contributing a usable product, right?
Absolutely. That's and I've always kind of liked the behind the scenes. That's kind of my end goal, was to just be a producer behind the scenes, and then to the fact that my music can be in something that's real. And I think that credits me, especially probably for friends and family that know that I lock myself up in a studio and what do I do in there? Is he making music? Is he just playing, wasting time? I feel like it even adds a value to that. Like, oh, he's actually doing stuff that matters in a real industry. And I think it's one of those kind of highs that you keep chasing. Once you get it, it's like, wow, this is real. It can happen. And I didn't have to travel out of state or go to California. I'm right here in Florida, and I don't have to be in the studio with artists or anything like that. I can just do it right here from my home studio. And like I said, it's going out to a real industry, and it's exciting and encouraging and exciting to think that there's opportunities like that, for me and you. So I think it's awesome.
And what's not to love? It's all pluses in my book, and that's why I've stuck in this industry for so long, and I'm sure that's what's going to lead you to a nice, long, profitable career here too. So thank you so much, man, for joining us today. I know that you're going to encourage and motivate a lot of other producers and artists out there that are struggling, that need this plan. They need something to help them get a little bit closer to full-time income, and just hoping and wishing is not doing much for them. So I think a more actionable and realistic pathway in terms of licensing your music and actually serving a marketplace with money to pay you and opportunities to actually get you out there is a much better way to go. And I think you would agree.
Absolutely. I think so. Get in there and start finishing some tracks and get to work. Watch Jesse's videos. It'll get you on the right track.